guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing a teeny tiny February reading wrap up. So these are going to be all of the books that I read before we did Randomathon, which started February 5th, and then after we did Randomathon until March. So I don't have a ton to share with you, so this is going to be a pretty quick video, but if you want to check out my part 1 of my February reading wrap up, which is my Randomathon wrap up, I will link that up in the cards as well as down below in the description. So for now, we're going to talk about all of the regular things that I read for February. All right, I started off the month rereading Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I feel like I'm going to talk about this book so much that you probably won't want to read it because I'm so obsessed with it. So I reread this one in preparation for the second book, which is Map of the Otherlands that we'll talk about in just a second. But in case you somehow missed it, this is an adult cozy fantasy. We are following Emily and she is making an encyclopedia of fairies. She's kind of a snarky, curmudgeon, grumpy sunshine type of professor. She's going to this like small town to study certain types of fae and find new types of fairies and fae and write about them in her journal. You're following the story through her journal entries, and in between you're also kind of getting facts and thoughts about the fairies. This is so cozy and delightful. We have an adorable, fabulous, sweet romance in here. This is not a spicy read, so keep that in mind. It is just cozy and romantic and beautifully written. It is so fun learning about all the different types of fairies in here. I love all of the characters, even the ones that we're not supposed to love. They're just so fun and interesting. The world is beautifully described. This book is actually very funny. It is a little bit slower to start with. I feel like I didn't notice as much because I did the audiobook, and the narrator for this one is absolutely phenomenal. She is so good that this has a little bit of a slow start and overall is just a really like fun, whimsical, cozy read. Upon rereading, a 5-star for me. So then I read Map of the Otherlands, which is book 2. We start pretty soon after the ending of book 1, and I think I liked this one even more. So 5+ stars. We get a couple new characters that I totally fell in love with, but we are with our other characters as well. We get the really good atmospheric elements that Heather Fawcett is so good about writing about, and I absolutely loved both of these. I'm already just so excited to read the next book, which she hasn't even announced yet. So, all right, so after Randomathon, I read The Island. I was kind of halfway through this one when we finished Randomathon. So this one has a really unique premise that I really enjoyed. This is a young adult kind of horror mystery book. So in this one, we have a tech billionaire who has designed this theme park for the rich on his private island. And he has invited a bunch of different types of social media influencers to come and visit and kind of post about it and hype up the theme park, experience it for themselves. You stay there, so it's like a full resort. There's food, there's different rides, and he gets different kinds of social media people, literally everything from like a murder podcast host to a beauty guru. You get a full ragtag team of characters in here. I really enjoyed that part of it. I really enjoyed the descriptions of the islands and the rides. We do have kind of a and then there were none Agatha Christie vibe when one of them goes missing and then dark things start happening. I didn't personally find it scary, but it does have a little bit of like a slasher element to it, and it does get a little bit descriptive on the gory side. I found this one to be a little bit slower, and I did enjoy the characters, and I wish there was just a little bit more about like the theme park and the atmosphere. I'm just all about the vibes. The ending of this one is frustrating, which makes a lot of people really hate it because it leaves things a little bit open-ended and also kind of strange. I got a little bit confused. So this one has a low rating because of the ending. I didn't particularly mind the ending. It was more just the overall story as a whole. So for me, this was just a 3-star. Doesn't mean that it was bad. It just wasn't a new favorite. I did something kind of interesting. So I started The Marriage Act by John Mars as a buddy read with one of my friends. This one is a speculative fiction novel, a little bit of a mystery, a little bit sci-fi. So I really love The One by John Mars, which follows a company that is DNA matching, and they will match you with your perfect match, and literally if you find out about this match and you meet them, like everything else goes away and you know that they're the one. That one was so interesting. One of the first almost thrillers, like not technically a thriller, that I read, and one of my favorite adult novels. It was really interesting because in The One, people would be married and find out that their match is not their partner, and they have to decide if they want to stay with their current partner or meet their match that could possibly be the love of their life. Some, like men, would find out that they were matched with other men and they thought that they were straight, and then they were questioning their sexuality, and it just had all these really cool elements that kind of made you think. So in the marriage act, it technically takes place kind of around the same time as the one in the same world. It's not a series, but I would recommend reading the one first because there's a lot of things that tie in, and I feel like he wrote them in order, and then he has a new book called The Family Plan that I feel like kind of goes in order. So in the marriage act, there is this marriage act where you install this system in your home, and it's like an AI system that will help you with your marriage. So it will detect whether you are having frustrations or arguments, and it will kind of report back, and you're supposed to get like a tax break and better health care and things if you do the marriage act, and it's also supposed to help you have a better marriage. But there are all these kind of stipulations that come with it that a lot of people didn't account for. People having cognitive illnesses, not being a good person to be married to, and kind of getting separated from each other. Just like in the one, we're following different married couples. I think there's like 4 or 5, and then there's also 1 or 2 single people. And in this world, single people are kind of looked down upon because they're not really as helpful to society in the eyes of the marriage act. And it's just this really interesting world. It's not necessarily dystopian. It's kind of more high-tech, futuristic. They have these different like counselors that will come and live with you for a few weeks if you're struggling with your marriage and observe you, and it's just all very invasive. So I really enjoyed this one. It was darker than the one was, I feel like, even though in the one there was a really dark element that didn't bother me, but in this one it had kind of more of a somber tone. I felt like it was a little bit longer there in the middle, but in the end it all kind of tied together really well, and I really enjoyed it, and it was just really well done. So this one was a 4-star for me, and I'm very excited to read Family Act, which will kind of take place around the same time at the end of this one and tie some things in that they mentioned in this second book. I really love John Mars. I know he has some other actual thriller and mysteries. He says that he has like actual thrillers and then speculative fiction, and so far the ones I've read are speculative fiction. I'm curious to read some other things from him because so far I absolutely love his writing style and storytelling. So the weird thing that I did was while I was reading The Marriage Act with my friend buddy reading, I was reading it kind of slowly to kind of keep up with her at first because she was physically reading and I was doing the audio, and the audio was amazing, by the way. The narrator was incredible. So in between me like catching up with that, I was reading The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren because I really wanted to read this one for February, and this one has a similar premise to the one where we have this DNA matching system, but in this one it's not as high-tech futuristic as it was in the one, and it's not as dark. It's literally just they try to tell you who your match is, and it's not necessarily an instant like we fall in love forever. It's just a DNA matching system, and it's more lighthearted. But it does have a little bit more scientific elements than I believe their other books do. I didn't fully love this one. We had a lot of family drama with the main character and her horrible mother. Is a single mom taking care of her daughter while also having to kind of take care of her grandparents, and she just has like a lot of hardships that she's trying to get through, and that's why she hasn't had time to date. I did like the love interest. I liked the character of him a lot, but I didn't necessarily like their romance fully, and this one just felt really long. I kind of wanted more about the matching system than I wanted like all of the family drama and different things like that, which is something I struggle with contemporary. Is I want more of like the themes and the vibes than I do all of like the hardships and the drama. I did really like the ending of this one. It was really sweet, and I liked some of the characters. I feel like their characters are done really well. So for me, this was just a 3-star, but I feel like a lot of you that like contemporary will really like this one. And that's it. That's everything that I read outside of Randomathon. So be sure and go and check out the other video if you haven't seen it already. Stay tuned for a lot more videos coming your way. Let me know what your favorite read of February was and what you plan on reading for March down below in the comments. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time on The Bright Side.